What you cannot see, feel or touch does not exist. Science needs to quantify, measure and catalogue. In this universe, there are forces and events far beyond the realm of science. That is science as we understand it today. Into this mystic and intangible world lies the science of gemstones and crystals. All gemstones are crystals. In this program, we'll have in-depth discussions, and through these discussions, we hope to create a debate on the powers of the crystals. I'd like to tell you that in this program, we have no interest neither in the monetary nor the aesthetic value of the stone, nor its use as a jewelry. We would be speaking to gemologists, astrogemologists, astrologers, scientists, numerologists, feng shui experts, crystal healers, pranic healers, and a whole lot of others who handle crystal to make that change in your life, be it astrological or holistic.
अकाल मृत्यु सर्पागिनी सर्वव्याधि भयानि च तथा अश्रुवाणि नश्यन्ति वज्रं यस्य गृहे स्थितं पूज्ये निवारित वज्रो बले सिंहास्तदारे च रात्रो निवारेतु भूतानां नरोहिं करधारणा.
But every Sanskrit literature has the reference to these gems which are used at that time by different people, say these kings, they are administrative officers, even coming to household ladies. So this is a science, that's why it is called Shastra. Sanskrit texts are called Shastras because they give the analytical ideas. Anything that is prescribed, it is systematically presented, defined, explained and experimented. Then only they tell you, you use. If it is not working, then you can blame us.
In this program, let us set the ground as to what the experts feel, how they believe that the gemstones and crystals can work, how much they can do, and what are the misconceptions.
The question of whether gemstones have power or not, that's not a very easy one to answer. It's like saying, when did you stop beating your wife? I mean, either way, you're going to get into trouble. So I'd only qualify to say that yes, gemstones have powers, but not necessary to say that all gemstones have power for all the time, or every individual is affected or influenced by gemstones. Maybe it's simple to say some people are influenced by some gemstones.
Stones are considered, why considered? It is a silent protector. Silent ah. It has got some magical powers as well as medicinal powers. Magical powers, how does the wind blow? Kaathu epdiga veesudhu? Kaatha yaru paaka mudiyadhu. Adha unartha thaanga mudiyum. அதே மாதிரி இந்த கற்களை நீங்க யூஸ் பண்ணாதான் அதனுடைய ரியல் மேஜிக்கல் பவரை நீங்க உணர முடியும்.
It works just like a shield. It completely protects you from the bad effects of all your karmas or any such thing. It gives you a complete protection.
The stones work on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the mental level and on the spiritual level, and sometimes a mixture of both.
Very interesting. That's what this program is all about. Different opinions from different people. Let's hear what a geologist has to say.
I would approach the subject from a geologist's point of view. A professional geologist for that matter in the Geological Survey of India, the premier scientific organization in the country, and an organization that has gem testing laboratories. There are wealth of information about the physical characters and chemical composition of gemstones. But nothing has been proved scientifically till date, to the best of my knowledge, about the efficacy or effects of these gemstones on individuals, as it is owned by many, as it is reflected in their astrological horoscope.
Science has always been the master of the known world. But what of the unknown world? A world that you cannot touch or feel. Where do these stones get their power from? Is it through chemical reaction or natural creation? A power that has been acknowledged and used for several hundred years.
When you are asking me about the role of crystals in Feng Shui, it is one of the most powerful tool which is taken as a remedial measure to combat a difficult situation or to activate a zone which requires more of that element.
What do we gain from crystals? What do we lack as humans that the crystals can provide?
People think that they want this, that they want that, but ultimately every human being wants to find the truth of oneself, and the truth of oneself is perfect physical health, perfect emotional health, perfect mental clarity, and perfect truth, sincerity in the spirit, the vision of the divine. The path of the stone is a beautiful path. The stones are our friends, have an incredibly direct, strong, and close energy. Apart few cases that one is really careless or negative, they cannot absolutely do harm under any circumstance. And it's my path. Whether it's yours or not, that is up to you.
So each of us have to find our own path to obtain the desires in our life. Often the path to the divine is also a path that we have to find on our own. Coming back to gemstones and crystals, do they have the powers to make events happen, events which otherwise would not have happened for you? Or do they have the powers to help you realize that potential which is already there in you?
As I told you in the beginning, that as soon as a person is born, he has certain planets in certain positions which will largely determine what are the events that is going to take place in his life. The gems will only be like a catalyst. It would not be helpful to cause an event itself. It would already be there waiting like a potential, a seed, and if the gem is available and the energy is enough, it actually comes out. It could be like so long it was being blocked, and that was needed to push it further up, where it reaches a point where it can become practical.
Yeah, I think a crystal is a good support system for what you want to do. But unless you're mentally targeting to do something or change your life in a certain way and work towards it, the crystal by itself cannot help you. The crystal will support you once you've made up your mind and you're prepared to work in that particular direction. It could be a good support system.
That leaves us with the question, how much change can crystals and gemstones cause in our lives?
So in Feng Shui or in other disciplines, they say put a red hanging here, put a red flower here, put a green bamboo plant in one corner. Why the bamboo plant? No, put any green. But what green you will put? So put one plant. That's why it's actually the green. You want the green energy in that area. That's all. Because these are passive transmitters. They're just passive. They just bring up the intention in your mind, and whatever is capability of your body it does. But the crystal puts it in. That it cannot do. So these symbols, these things, they can only enhance your own ability to do a little bit, but the crystal actually injects it into you. So crystals are very dynamic, very powerful. Times, I mean 100 times more than.
There are some stones which is different. There are some stones, for example, mostly is agate, jasper, various qualities of jasper, that work more, as I said before, as grounding, at putting you in contact solidly with the ground, no? Generally speaking. There are some stones which work more to clarify the emotions, to purify the emotions, to calm, to stabilize the emotions. Some stones activate creativity, which is mostly in the throat and in the second chakra. Especially for an artist, for a poet, for a musician, this stone will help to create better art. There are some stones of protection. One is amethyst, for example. Amethyst comes from the Greek word, it's just an example, a Greek word, metistos. Metistos in Greek means drunk, but in Greek the A in front of the word is negation, not drunk. Not drunk symbolically means detachment. Instead of immediately jumping into emotion, into action, into a decision, one take a step back and look. And then it's protected, because when we jump without looking, that we end up into trouble. So that is a way of protecting, to give in samatha, equanimity, inner calm, centering, then you are already protected. There is some other stones. This is not one of the best pieces, but doesn't matter. You can see here the lining of the black tourmaline. Against negativity. If you live in an atmosphere where people are competitive, are angry with each other, or jealousy, or resentment, this stone absorbs it and clarifies to a great extent. Then you can put it in salt water in the sun for a day and it clears it. There is another stone which is actually one of the most beautiful ones, rainbow obsidian, which works against fear, protects you from fear. Because fear attracts what you are afraid of. It's an occult law. If you are afraid of something, you're in contact with this, in a certain measure you draw it to you. So obsidian protects you, especially rainbow obsidian, because it eliminates fear in the Muladhara.
Let's move on. To what extent do stones influence our lives? Is the power to create a change only limited to stones? What about other sciences?
In a certain way, in all of those, we live in a holographic universe. In a hologram, each point contains every other point. Even in quantum physics, it has been demonstrated that one electron has the information of the whole universe. There is a certain correspondence in which the same energy is reflected in a color, in a plant, in a flower, in a stone, in a state of mind or emotional or physical state, in a human state. So if you need a particular energy, you can find it in a flower. The Bach flowers, English way of medicine, similar to homeopathy, provide a flower for each particular problem. It can be found in a particular mantra, like is expressed in certain part of the Veda. Like in many type of yoga, they can give you a mantra to cure in Siddha medicine, particular thing. It can be found in various type of meditation, and it can also be found in a stone. This energy, which can heal a human being, is present in the stone, is present in the universal energy all around us if we have the key to contact it, to open ourselves to it, and also in a stone. Now, my way is through the stones, no? Because that's what I concentrated upon, and therefore I am more receptive, and I am more in tune, more in syntony, more in contact, no?
The world of gemstones and crystals, as applied astrologically and holistically, is based on ancient logic. The practice is hundreds of years old and is respected by most ancient civilization. But what is astonishing and at times amazing is the interpretation of each practitioner purely based on his personal experience, his intuition, and the school of thought he belongs to.
So, how to find your personal stone? There are many ways. About the astrology and the difficulty in finding a good astrologer who knows about stones, we have already mentioned it. It's also possible to be found through numerology. It can be found through chromotherapy, but for that you must find out, of course, which color is good for you. Usually the red, yellow are energizing, the pink and green are for the heart, for love, for emotions. The blue colors, light blue is communication, expression, creativity, deep blue and violet is spirituality. The person must be aware for this of what, there are two things, what the person wants, no? Some people need more peace of mind, some people need more self-confidence in themselves, security. Some people need more knowledge, they must acquire a certain knowledge. Some people need more spirituality, love. Some people need more love. It can be found through the yin-yang rapport, no? The energy, more right hemisphere or left hemisphere of the brain. The left brain of the left side of the brain is associated with male, with the West, with science, logic, reason, technology, organization, practical quality, while the right hemisphere of the brain is associated more with female, with the East, with art, irrationality, spontaneity, joy, happiness. So if the person is too much left brain oriented, no, then any right brain oriented stone like pink tourmaline, aquamarine is very good. If a person is too much right brain oriented, then a very male stone like ruby is very effective. We need a balance, equilibrium between the two, no? Now, a very simple way is to, for example, use the pendulum, no? Through the chakra. Usually it's better if somebody else does it to you. You find out which chakra in you is weak or blocked, no? Then of course you must have a book or some knowledge of which stone applies to which chakra. Usually it's best if somebody helps you. Another way, which is much simpler, no? But you must have a little bit of inner contact, be able to have a little mental silence, a little quiet, being a little bit centered, no? You go in a place where there is a lot of stone, that you can, you're free to feel them, no? When nobody is trying to influence you or to put pressure on you to buy something, that you can hold them and feel them. And you will feel that you'll be attracted particularly to a stone. And usually that is the right stone. If you are in doubt between two stones, one technique which is very simple but works best is that you hold both in your hand, close your eyes, and then after a while, in which you are silent and quiet, you make the gesture to put them down, and you'll find out that one you have more reluctance to put it down than the other one, that you hold on to it, and then that is your stone. Ultimately, you see, if you want particularly this or this, your mind will find 100 good reasons why this is right and this is wrong. And if you want this, also your mind will find 100 good reasons why this is right and this is wrong. Ultimately, especially with stones, it works much better to use our own intuition, no? Than the logic, the mind, or the reason.
What is more amazing is how much the power of personal instinct plays in finding a personal crystal. As we learn more about crystals, we should learn more about ourselves. Without this instinctive voice active and strong within us, we'll be lost in this world. We cannot get the best out of this world.
See, the recommendation as of now it is being done, it is based on sun sign primarily. If a person is born during a particular month, under a particular sign, but actually it is a very crude form of recommending a gem, because you would say that this particular planet is the governing planet for that month and therefore associate a gem. Whereas what makes a person unique is that he has a horoscope which has an ascendant which could rapidly change every 2 hours, and that makes a person unique. Whereas here we have associated it with the proper horoscope itself. And what we do in the horoscope is, suppose say if you are born in say the Rishabha Lagna, which is the Taurus Lagna, then planet Shani is the best planet for that person, for you if you are born in that. Now what we want them to do is, they should be having something in them to boost the energy of or the vibrations of that particular planet. So blue is associated with blue sapphire and it is associated with Shani.
உங்க டேட் ஆஃப் பர்த் என்ன, உங்க நேம் என்ன, அது ரெண்டுத்துக்குள்ள ஹார்மோனியஸ் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் எப்படி இருக்கு, அதை ஜட்ஜ் பண்ணி ஒரு நம்பரை காமனாக ஒரு நம்பரை வர வச்சு அந்த நம்பரை உங்கள் நேமில் ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணி அந்த நம்பருக்கு என்ன பவர்ஸ் இருக்கோ அந்த பவர் உள்ள ஸ்டோன், அந்த ஸ்டோனை நாங்கள் சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணி அதை வெளியில் போகிறதா தங்கத்தில் போகிறதா அப்படி நாங்கள் எழுதி கொடுத்த பிறகு தான் நீங்கள் அந்த கல்லை கடையில் போய் அதுவும் உண்மையான கல்லை வாங்கணுமே ஒழிய.
My philosophy goes like this. It is not the question of just recommending a stone on their birth star or nakshatra, lagna or something like that. Here we will have to take into consideration mainly the lagna, the time at which a child is born, the nakshatra, and then comes the sixth house, Rana Karaka house. In comparison with the lagna, how the sixth house lord reacts with the lagna, reacts with the star lord and the sub lord. Along with this, the 12th house, the Vrayasthana, etc. These are to be consulted.
I believe is the mantra. Apart from instinct, anyone who wants to make that very important change in his or her life using crystals must sincerely want to do so, must believe in the powers of the crystal, must be very open-minded like a true seeker.
See, one is the gem will anyway work even without faith, because it's basically as I told in the beginning, he is aligning himself with a particular color which is positive when he was born according to his karma. So he is aligned with that. Now faith works, I think, in every sphere, even when it comes to medicine, where a medicine has a particular property and it should cure. Even there doctors have felt that faith has a different causes a difference in the patient. Now faith works definitely to a very large level, because first all our problems are mind oriented, and when it comes at the level of faith, a person tends to look at problems in a different angle, and he feels or gets the confidence to overcome it.
If you believe, you're more receptive. You see, it's quite possible that a commercial healer who doesn't know anything, who give the wrong stone, the person is still helped because he believes. No, that is there. Apart from that, there is a real effect of the stone. Whether you believe it or not, the stone will have a certain effect. If you believe in the stone, you are more open, you're more receptive, and then it works better.
The question is whether one has to have a particular religious belief in order for the stones to influence that person. I don't think that it's important at all whether you have a particular religious belief or whether you have any religious belief at all. Because the stone itself does not have a religion. The color of light does not have a religion. It has its own inherent qualities, and that is what apparently does something to us. The stone has its vibration. Our bodies have their vibrations. Now these two interact, sometimes to produce good results and at times to produce not so good results. Sometimes the results are neutral.
Then of course there are the religious images in crystals. Do crystals complement the deity or the other way around? Do crystals acquire more power when used in this form? It's getting very, very interesting. Let's find out.
Suppose a person is running the Dasha of Ketu, we are already advised to recommend such a person wearing a pendant of Lord Ganesha. But then if you know a little more of astrology, you could say that this is having more of the qualities of Mars. The hurt, the harm is coming through the energies of Mars, because Ketu is like Mars. Now, once you wear that gem, wear that idol, it will anyway help you. But wearing the red coral, Ganesha, helps you much more. You are now solving it at two levels. One at the level of Mars, second at the level of the image itself. So you are taking care of both.
Most of these gemstones are given shapes, especially where crystals are concerned. They're given the shape of Lord Ganesha. Some of them make Mother Mary and Christ out of these crystals. They're given a lot of shapes, but basically they grow just as pencil forms, just like this, as crystals. Now this is cut, and then after that it is shaped and a particular figure is given. When you use them as showcase pieces, then there's absolutely no problem. They will still do their work. They will just absorb a lot of negativity from the atmosphere, but they have their own process of transforming energy forms, as a result of which no negative energy really hangs on or clings on to these figurines for very long. But when you give it a form and when you start worshipping it, it's just like you're bringing up a baby in the house. It needs to be fed, it needs to be cleansed, and it can do a lot of good for you then. When you give it life, naturally it becomes very, very active and receptive to whatever is being done to it.
The law of karma teaches that responsibility for one's actions are borne by the person who commits those actions. Living a fully ethical life is just impossible for any humans, as long as we have desires, passions, dreams and family. Does this mean we'll all have to turn saints? No. This only means that we will incur good and bad karma in our life. This will naturally decide the quality of our life now and in our future births.
The first point is, all of us have karma working without any interference from any other activity, like including prayer or gems or any other method. But as the karma comes out, you can make it better or worse from that point by these additional things that we have. Like for a gem, for example, what happens is, these people they have a condition which has to go through in this life. There are some small hitches here and there. You only wear the gems to improve from a particular position.
Well, you see, you have to use a stone specifically, no? If you ever had a big feeling of guilt, if you had a negative karma and you feel guilty, to solve it, to change it, first you must get rid of your guilt, because then you can use, this also work, rainbow obsidian, to get rid of fear and guilt. If you have a tendency from past life to be too materialistic, too attached to money and possession, then, and this is your karma, then you can use a stone like blue sapphire, which uplifts from the material into the spiritual. But it's not that it works directly on the karma. It works trying to eliminate the leftover tendency from a bad karma. Karma is not punishment. It's just doing again an exercise that you failed to do in the previous lesson. Stones for good luck or to win the lottery, that is nonsense. There is no good luck. There is good and bad karma, but there is no good luck.
For now, let us see how clear a crystal should be for it to be effective, and what can inhibit its powers.
A glass of pure water works better than a glass of dirty water, no? The purity of the stone has much more energy. If it's impure, it has other elements which don't correspond to the energy of the stone, or even block it, no? If a stone has a crack, the energy don't pass through the crack, no? If a stone has black tourmaline inside, or inclusion or something else, it creates confusion in that energy.
As far as this science is concerned, it's preferred to have a natural crystals. The synthetic crystal, they absorb a lot of negative energy only, because the energy has to be absorbed by it and it has to be radiated and emitted out. So that is only possible if the crystals are raw and natural.
What is a horoscope? To begin with, a horoscope is a map that appears as a two-dimensional chart. It shows the positions of the sun, the moon and the planets at the precise moment of your birth. Correct interpretation of these birth positions can expose much about you. In poker parlance, it's the hand that has been dealt in life. Does this mean that your life has already been decided? No. A horoscope cannot reveal as to how you wish to play this hand. While you usually have the freedom of choice or free will, the horoscope can reveal the natural inclinations you have, the lessons you have to learn, the issues that you'll have to face, and the problems that you'll have to solve.
I personally feel that the starting point should always be the horoscope, which is why in ancient India, whenever a child was born, they immediately cast the horoscope. They didn't take more time, like let's see it later, for example. It is a system, a knowledge which is almost similar to a certificate. Now when a student comes into the class first time, he carries with himself a certificate showing his past performance. It is based upon that the current class itself should be in tune with that. For example, the teacher will know, okay, this student is very weak in maths by looking at the mark sheet. Now from that basis, an additional help is given to that student only on that. So it is like the horoscope almost is like the certificate of our past life. From that we are trying to project the possibilities. Even astrology is not perfect in that way. It only is an assumption that since he scored very low in 7th standard when he finished it, he is likely to suffer in maths in this class also.
It's not that the stars have a certain influence. The stars are like signs which mark, register the influence which is there at the moment of our birth. That influence which comes from the whole universe, from our being, from our God, is not that it comes from the planet, but everything in a holographic universe corresponds. As the energy is like that, the planet is like that. The energy doesn't come from the planet, but the planet marks, is like a sign, like a message, like a code, like a secret code, which shows more easily than trying to feel it how the energy was there in us at the moment of our birth. Now, it's possible to find the stone through astrology, but it's extremely difficult. I met very few astrologers, I'm sorry to say so, who can do it, because I hope I don't offend anyone, but one will have to have a very deep, intuitive knowledge of astrology, because two people with the same chart, interpretation can be different, and a deep knowledge of stones. Now, usually people specialize. You may have very good astrologer and very good people who know about stones. But for example, myself, I don't know much about astrology. So if I work together with my wife, we can find it. But it would require somebody who knows very well both astrology and the power of stones.
The most common way to choose a gemstone that a person wears according to the Indian science would be to wear it according to the dasha that the person runs. Now what is this dasha? A human life is divided into 120 years, wherein the first 6 years is a Surya dasha, or the period of sun, followed by the Chandra dasha for about 10 years. Later it goes on to the Chava dasha, which is also the Mars, and finally Rahu, then the Guru dasha, then the Shani dasha, Buddha dasha, Ketu dasha and the Shukra dasha. Now all these have particular years on them, and people prefer to wear the gemstone according to the kind of dasha, according to the period of the dasha that they are running.
Every horoscope has yoga karakas and bad karakas, that is favorable and unfavorable planets. Every horoscope, and we must analyze, we must calculate the person's horoscope and decide, come to a conclusion about what are the favorable planets of that particular horoscope, and according to those planets we have to give the gems corresponding to those planets. We are ultimately, the concept is you are trying to absorb the particular favorable planets rays into you. Our job is which planet is favorable to you.
Two astrologers differ. If astrology is a science, why should there be differences? Is not the law of physics the same all over the world?
Well, oftentimes we find that two people practicing astrology recommend entirely different stones. Then the question is, which is correct? Now, you know, there is a lot of difference in the way astrologers look at a horoscope. In fact, the way the horoscope is cast in North India and in South India. So the approach is quite different. Again, if you take the Indian concept of astrology and with the Western concept, once again you find a difference. Now in the West, they have a certain way of looking at astrology. The Indian astrology, the Eastern astrology is different. The Western astrology takes its genesis from Aaron's breastplate, where 12 stones have been put to represent each of the zodiac signs. And the Indian astrology talks about the Navaratnas and the Navagrahas. So there they're talking about 12 stones. Here in India, we're talking about 9 stones. So there are certain basic differences. Now, I think Western astrology believes differently to Indian astrology. I don't know which is which, but one person may, for instance, believe that if I want to win a battle, I should do something to my opponent. The other may say, no, if I want to win my battle, I should do something to help my friend. So, therefore, sometimes the stones that are prescribed are diametrically opposite. You might think that this is going to be counterproductive, but it is the philosophy of the person recommending the stone, the way they look at that particular situation. After all, astrology and the study of horoscopes, there is nothing written in black and white. There are just signposts, and the astrologer interprets those signposts and tells you what to do.
Is it as simple as all that? Find out the planet of influence and get that crystal that can see you through all your troubled times. Your karma has a lot to say on this.
Wearing off the gems itself is one, you can say, effect of a particular dasha and bhukti also sometimes. It depends on the time that the person is running. All the remedies that a person does, whatever be the form of remedy, the remedy itself will not be available to a man unless the time permits it. Till such time the person will be against all these things. Or there will be a particular patch when a person takes total disbelief in all these things. It is part of his own karma. We have seen, for example, a person becoming an atheist during a bad patch. For example, 7.5 years Saturn runs. All the situations are so bad, his mind is already weak, the horoscope is, some key areas are affected, and then they become automatically feeling that everything is working against them, and they take a different stand. They would have been regular devotees, they would have gone to temples regularly, but they suddenly stop. And then they go through that bad patch. After they finish the bad patch, they'll come back with all that sandhanam, everything, and say, now I'm back to, I found, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done like this. Similarly, what happens also, even with gems, we have noticed that even astrologers become, or a jeweler becomes an instrument of fate for some people, wherein they get the wrong gem itself at the wrong time. And they continuously wear it, and they get more, bad results.
Very few topics have been debated as strongly as the concept of wearing Navaratna or the 9 gems. Representing the 9 planets and the pattern of the universe, this combination of gems is considered extremely auspicious for the wearer and acts as a protection against danger and disease. For some experts, it is the most powerful tool devised, while to some others, everything about it is wrong and breaks all the rules of astrogemology.
See, suppose you have a Navagraha idol, instead of that, the Navaratna that you were discussing is enough to give the same effect.
Navaratna. Navaratna means the entire Navagrahas are being brought up in one particular group, in one particular ring or this thing. This will give you, according to, suppose if Rahu Dasha is going on and Rahu is not favorable, the topaz will take care of it. The radiation from topaz will look after all these things, and the Vairam or the diamond will look after Shukra's bad effects. All these things will be shielded by the Navaratna.
Now there are some people who just ask you to wear a Navaratna, which is a gem map, and that also has to be set at a particular angle. The ruby has to be at the center, and on the head sometimes the diamond has to be worn on the head, and the blue sapphire would be on the tail. Now this map, this gem map, when worn, according to me, according to my school of thought, I believe that 99% of them do not do well. There is a slow deterioration which they are themselves not aware of. But the 1% have really done extremely well for themselves, and that too on a trial and error basis. They will have to wear the diamond on the head and see on the head side and see if it does well, or the blue sapphire. They will have to wear it for 1 week that way, 1 week this way, and finally check and see if this really suits them. But according to me, I still very strongly believe that it could be used as a piece of jewelry, not to cause change.
No, Navaratna can never be favorable at all to anybody. But when it comes to Navaratna, they don't realize they are wearing gems which are opposite to each other, and there could be a clash. This clash will get reflected in the person. The problem is when a person wears a wrong gem, they might say that, see, so far this gem has never affected me, even though I was wearing this Navaratna. The problem is because their horoscope or the karma is very strong, and this Navaratna is not sufficient to bring it down. Just like I told you that a right gem also can only bring you up a little more, like from 80 to 90. If a person is at 90 and if he wears a wrong gem also, the same theory holds good. But instead of saying 10% more, you could say some 30% less, because destructive forces are more powerful. So it brings down the person if he is wearing the wrong gem.
Many people don't know that they should not wear a Navaratna studded ring or an ornament. Everybody is not eligible to wear a Navaratna. Navaratna is, it is you are combining all the planets together in one ring or a locket or one ornament. Any person, only that person whose chart has all the favorable, all the 9 planets in the favorable position, which is next to impossible. An individual should not wear a Navaratna ring. A Navaratna ring, it is to balance the good and bad planets, but not for the individual. For the individual, we are analyzing the horoscope and finalizing, coming to a conclusion of which is favorable, which is not favorable, which is neutral, and all these things, and we are suggesting whichever is required to that particular chart, not all the stones. But these Navaratna should be placed in an organization, in a place where you are doing Bhumi Pujas, where you are placing your Vasakal, that is the main entrance, where so many different kinds of people come, people of different vibrations.
Wearing a Navaratna is like this. Maybe you require red, maybe you require green, maybe you require white, maybe you require a diamond also. So you put all the stones together. Will your body be able to absorb and assimilate and fruitfully utilize that energy is the question. You use a stone only because you need the energy. If this energy becomes excess, then it's going to cause you more problem. If your red energy becomes excess, from dynamism it will make you arrogant. From vitality it will make you violent. From your ability of self-preservation, it may make you commit murder. So too much of everything is also not good. There has to be a proper balance. As such, if you ask my opinion, if you use 9 stones, the influence of one cuts the influence of other, the influence of the other cuts the influence of yet another. If you're lucky, at the end of the day, you'll have nothing except a decoration on your finger. That's good, that's not bad. But if by chance any one of that color is not suitable for you and that gets amplified in your body, then God bless you.
The human hands are the most amazing part of our body. We write with them, we work with them, we make objects with them, and we even talk with them. According to the ancient art of mudra, the hand helps in the flow of energy to the brain. By curling, twisting, stretching, and touching the fingers, we energize the body and the mind. This concept of connectivity of the hand to the mind is used in the wearing of gems.
Where does one wear a stone that is prescribed? Now, every finger of the hand, including the thumb, supposed to be are related to certain planets. The index finger is supposed to relate to or connected with the planet Jupiter, this large finger with Saturn, the ring finger with the Sun, and the little finger with Mercury. Then of course there are other areas of the palm connected with particular planets particularly according to palmistry and also according to astrology. So oftentimes when you are asked to wear a sapphire, your astrologer will say, well, wear it on the middle finger, because that is most closely connected to the planet Saturn. So, well, this is one way. Yes, these suggestions oftentimes come, but many astrologers say, well, it doesn't matter.
The problem wearing it as a pendant is that this gem is surely working on light radiation. It is based color. It is actually another form of color therapy only. So when the light is not falling on it, and therefore it is no more that color, because if you keep something in the dark, it is a black object. It is not having any color. If you want to see the color, you have to put a light on it. So it is only based on light vibrations, light radiations, you can say. Now if you are keeping it concealed, then you could get very minimal energy from it, because only when light touches it, you will get some energy from it. So it's basically the color that is influencing the person, and it should be in a position where it is directly influencing the person who is wearing. And one is that the gem, as it reflects, most of the radiations can get into our system through the eyes, because we see the color and it is related to our sighting that color itself.
It doesn't really make a difference where you wear a stone. However, wearing them on the finger has a little better advantage. You can wear a crystal anywhere within your energy body. The body emits a particular type of energy. We call it in the Indian text, it's referred to as the Sukshma Shariram. So the Stula Shariram and the Sukshma Shariram, or the Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha. In English we call it the energy body or the bioplasmic body. It's also today commonly known as the aura, A-U-R-A, aura. Anywhere in the aura, the energy absorbs and is directed to the particular chakra, but the fingers, the terminals, they are related to one or the other chakras. So the nadis, the energy nadis, flow from the finger to the particular chakra. Therefore, if you want to stimulate a particular chakra more concentratedly, then the finger becomes a good place to put it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't wear it on the finger, it will not go, or if you wear it on the finger only, it will go. You can wear it in the neck, you can keep it in your purse.
அதாவது இந்த நவரத்னன்றது அணியிறது இப்போ எல்லாருமே வந்து ஃபிங்கரிங்கில் போட சொல்கிறாங்க பாருங்க. அந்த காலத்துலலாம் வந்து இந்த விரலில் போடுறதோட மார்பகத்தில் போடுறது, செஸ்ட்டில் போடுறது இன்னும் விசேஷம். இதை காட்டிலும் காதில் அணியிறது இன்னும் விசேஷம். இதுக்கு மேலே இந்த தலை மேலே வைக்கிறது, அதாவது கிரீடோன்ட்டு, அந்த காலத்து ராஜாங்கெல்லாம் வந்து கிரீடோன்ட்டு ஒன்று போட்டுட்டு இருப்பாங்க. அதில் நவரத்னம் பதிச்சு இது பண்ணுவாங்க. அவங்களெல்லாம் வந்து அசைக்க முடியாத ஒரு இதுவில் இருந்தாங்க. அந்த பவர்னால தான் இருந்தது.
Well, in the ears there is less nerve endings, so it should not normally be worn on the ears. Now I just contradict this because I wear a yellow diamond, but in my case I have so much contact with the stone that it works all the same, and I don't like to have rings or necklaces. Normally it doesn't make much difference. If you have a problem with the throat, communication, expression, it works a little better, little difference as a pendant. Otherwise, as a bracelet or a ring, it doesn't make much difference. I had some cases of people who had kidney stone and very serious kidney trouble, that a big piece of malachite put right on the kidney worked better than just wearing it. But mostly, no, it does not matter too much, just not as earrings. Ring, pendant, bracelet.
Historical records show that Indian jewelers mastered quite early the various skills required for making fine jewelry out of gold, silver and other metals. Is the choice of metals in setting gemstones have a bearing?
So what do we mount the stones in? Now that's the question. Usually we mount all gemstones in gold. But we have at times received specific requests that the stone should be mounted in silver. Now, talking to a few astrologers, I've learned that silver is usually recommended when the aspect of the moon in the horoscope requires it to be done. By and large, all mountings are in gold. At times, even copper has been recommended. Now, these metals have also got a relationship with planets. You do know that copper bracelets have been used for arthritis. Copper has been known to heal. The grandmother in India will tell you that you should eat out of bronze plates or cook in bronze vessels. That stainless steel is not desirable. That silver is very good. And if you can afford it, you can have a spot of gold in your silver plate to eat from. So metals do have some impact on the person, the health and the being of that person. And in all these matters, the deeper you go, the more intricate and the more fine everything becomes. But to start with, perhaps it's better to wear your stone in gold.
The best conductor of energy is copper, then gold, then silver, but it makes very little difference. One is not worth bothering about.
For hundreds of years, the gemstones are being seen as powerful tools, capable through their refractive ability of absorbing and radiating energy from the cosmos. The key word here is refractive powers. This brings us to the topic whether gemstones are to be cut and polished in order to increase their spiritual powers, or if the rough stones can emanate the same powers.
The faceting of the stone and what it does to the energy or the quality of the stone, the healing quality or the whatever quality you're talking about, yes and no. There are a lot of people who prescribe the stones and never state whether it's got to be a faceted stone or an unfaceted stone. Perhaps they assume that what is normally available faceted will be worn faceted, and what is available, let's say like a pearl or a collar in bead form, will be used as it is. Now this seems to be an assumption that is made. However, I do know that pranic healers prefer certain shapes, a certain kind of faceting, because they say that it improves or alters, as the case may be, the aura of the stone and therefore its ability to act on the person who is wearing it. Now these are two conflicting points of view. Unknowingly, unwittingly, I have suggested to clients earlier that if they couldn't afford a faceted stone, perhaps they should go in for a bead instead of wearing a ruby, a faceted 1 carat ruby. Maybe they could wear a 1 carat ruby bead, just string it in a wire and make a little pendant and wear it on the chain. After all, they want to wear a ruby, they've been told to wear a ruby, they can just wear a ruby. So there are again two sides to this. You can wear a bead or you can wear a faceted stone. But pranic healers are very clear on this issue that if you facet the stone a particular way, it will work better than an unfaceted stone.
See, one point is, as far as the polishing is concerned, it is purely something associated with the jeweler or the cost of the gem. As far as the planetary vibrations are concerned, it is the same, even if it is not well polished, etc. But polishing actually allows more light to pass through. That way it helps. But apart from that, there is no other quality that we are looking into. For example, a gem has its own property.
The cutting of a gemstone primarily started with bringing out the total internal refraction, to bring out the light. So a stone will attract light, and then if it refracts it properly, then there will be lot of brilliance of the stone. So enhance the brilliance of the stone, the cutting started. Then came in another school of thought that since these stones relate to certain chakras, the chakras have number of petals. For example, the Muladhara chakra is made up of 4 petals. The Swadhisthana chakra has 6 petals. The Manipura chakra has 8 petals. So like that, there are different petals for the chakras. Now, when they want a stone to relate to that particular chakra, then they cut it with that many sides. So 12 is the Anahata chakra. Now they may add one facet of the stone with 12, one facet of the stone with 4, one facet of it to 6, so that it becomes multi-operational. As I told you, it's a question of not one chakra, but a balance of many chakras. So there are many concepts. There is no one concept on how to cut a stone. But the basic idea of cutting a stone is not related to. The basic idea of cutting a stone is to bring out the brilliance of the stone.
In spiritual power, cut is not necessary. It is not necessary at all.
Coming to the cut of the gemstone, the cut of the gemstone is definitely very important too. Most often, most astrologers do not accept people wearing a triangular shaped gemstone, but they all prefer a faceted gemstone because they believe it enhances the power of the gem.
In some cases, yes, in some cases, not. In rainbow obsidian, in opaque stone, it makes very little difference because the light does not go through, the energy is the same. In transparent stone, it makes a difference. Now, clearly, this is much more powerful than this because the light goes more through than this. In the case of garnet, for example, garnet which is cut is much more powerful as a transparent stone that has a piece of rough, because stone works also as chromotherapy. There is also the energy of the red, or the energizing thing which goes right into the Manipur, in the solar plexus. So it's much more powerful in its cut form and polished in its rough form. But for example, for an agate, for a bit of Mysostar ruby, no, that does not make any difference.
So, is there a basis for the number of facets we create, or does each gemstone has its own natural and unique cut?
The numbers, yes. You need to either cut it into 64 or 128, because the direction from wherever the negative energy passes, it absorbs that and it converts that, transforms that into a positive one.
The cost of the crystal. Well, this has a direct relationship to the size of the crystal. Sometimes the recommended size may be impossible to afford.
Well, there is a belief that the size of the stone has some effect. Now, there are several schools of thought in this. I know people who specify the weight of the stone, and I also know astrologers who will say, don't worry about the weight of the stone, just buy what you can afford. Because if you're going to ask a man who is not doing so well in business to wear a 7-carat yellow sapphire or Kanaka Pushparagam, and if he's not going to be able to buy it, I mean, how is this going to work for him? So maybe that's why some people feel, well, just pick up a stone that you can afford and wear it. And then maybe as you go along, you can graduate to bigger stones. But there are against natural limits to the size of the stone that can be worn.
It's just like a medicine, like how a person needs 50 mg and the other person may need a slightly higher caratage. The same way the gemstone, the amount of the gemstone required by a person to be worn is definitely decided by the gemologist. And I basically would suggest that anything for precious stones, 1 to 3 carats would be the best choice, because above 3 carats, when you wear above 3 carats, first thing is that people could take you for a major ride, 1. 2, it will not suit your energy level too much, and as a result of which it's best that you stick on to this level.
We have a relationship between the strength of the planet and the size. We keep certain thing at a normal, like for example 2 carats of blue sapphire or ruby or something. Then if the planet is extremely weak, we make it slightly more, but at no point of time it will be more than 4 carats. Then weight means, for example, you just cannot have a very heavy gem, because what happens with a heavy gem is this particular vibration will get so much more, and obviously the other colors will go down in energy.
As I told you, the caratage that a person wears is very, very important to have an effect on the person. When you want to cause change, when you want a particular gem to cause change, then it's very, very necessary that you wear precious stones between 1 and 3 carats, and when it comes to semi-precious stones, you can wear anywhere between 3 and 11 carats. Now coming to, there is one particular precious stone, the coral, which you can definitely wear up to 8 to 12 grams. Now when I relate to carat and then suddenly grams, I'd like to explain that 5 carats is equal to 1 gram. So coral is the only gem that you can wear a slightly higher caratage.
The size is not so important if you use a stone for yourself. If it's for a whole room or a hall or a school, then of course a bigger size is more effective. Numerologists, astrologers, they tend to prescribe a stone 3, 4, 5 carat, 4.5. Now, when they prescribe an expensive stone, a ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond of 2, 3, 4, 5 carat, if it's very good quality, cost lakhs. So most people who are not so rich, who are prescribed the 4 carat ruby, emerald, sapphire, they end up buying a bad stone just because it's big, while a small one works much, much, much better if it's pure.
If something that's good for you, go ahead and wear it. Don't worry about the genesis and the history and the value of everything. If it works for you, it works for you.
The word mantra is derived from 2 Sanskrit words. The first is manas or mind, and the second is trai, which means to protect. Mantra is, at its core, a tool used by the mind which eventually frees one from the vagaries of the mind. The vibration of the mantra and the vibration of the crystal together merge to give a long-term sustained beneficial effect.
The whole system is mantra, tantra and yantra. The crystal or the chip is the yantra. The way you are going to use it is the tantra. But where's the mantra? The mantra is the instruction. Now, it has been drilled into us that mantra is the power of sound. That's only half the truth. The main thing is the power of intention and the power of word. The whole world has been built and executed only by the word. So, if you want to give instructions to somebody, it's the power of your word that will ensure that the person does the job or not. You can use any set of instructions. The only thing is, the instruction must be clear. It must not contradict each other. Very important. When you give an instruction, just like any other instruction, the instruction must be clear, it must be precise, it must be all-inclusive, and there must be no self-contradiction. Use your mantra in any language. You can say your prayer, your God, your creator knows even your thought. Doesn't matter whether you speak Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, English, Urdu, Greek, Latin, whatever it is. No choice of any language. Doesn't mean that only if you speak Sanskrit you understand. He's not so illiterate.
Well, actually, any puja or mantra is really an extension of spirituality. It's a kind of meditation. It's a repetitive meditation. If you go on repeating a mantra, it's a kind of meditation. What you do with that stone is when you put it in the puja, you are feeding into that stone certain vibrations that may come through the pronunciation or enunciation of that particular mantra. It can come through the higher spiritual level of the person who is meditating at that moment or performing the puja. Now these things will in effect cleanse the stone of all negativity. It will enhance some of its powers. It's just a cleaning process, and that is what is done when the stone is put in puja. This is very, very normal. Whether you believe in God or not is a different thing, but the enunciation of certain mantras, that is what leads on to a cleansing. Many people say, well, I just held it in a while, I meditated on my favorite God, my Ishtadeva, and the entire stone cleaned up and the person who was wearing it had no problems thereafter. It is therefore a cleansing process that is gone through, and this is quite clearly shown in the practice of pranic healing and of Reiki, where the pranic healer or the Reiki master draws on the spiritual energy, draws on violet light or on energy from up above, from beings that are much superior to us. We draw on that spiritual energy and then use it to heal a particular person of a disease or cleanse a particular stone before it is used.
If you have the feeling, the energy, the power, it doesn't matter which type of puja or which kind of Ishta Devata you pray to, then the puja is a system to potentiate, to what we call charge the stone, to energize the stone. But the feeling, the sincerity, the intensity, is much more important than which type of puja or how to do. The stone in itself, there is nothing more pure than a stone. It's the human mind which is not pure. So the stone in itself doesn't need to be purified.
So this puja of stones and puja of things is simply a ritual. It's not necessary. It's absolutely inessential. You want to program a stone, get into a proper frame of mind. You can do it while you're in the toilet, you can do it while you're in your bed, you can do it while you're driving a car, you can do it in a public transport, anywhere. It's just like a computer program. What the heck? The mantra is the programming, the instructions is the programming. But to get into the right frame to do it is very important, and that's why one has to do meditation. One has to have dhyana. So he has to cut himself out from most of the other diversions and be in tune with the energy of the crystal or the chip. Once he establishes a rapport with that, then only he can send the instruction.
How do you clean crystals? Wash it? Scrub it? No. For a person using crystals, cleaning is an act of removing all negativity from the crystals.
Now, when a stone is regularly used, it's likely to pick up negative energy, that which is not good for the wearer. So it has to be cleaned. The more it is cleaned, the more effective that stone is going to be. One of the simple methods of cleaning of crystals that you will again see in pranic healing and Reiki is that it is soaked overnight in a salt solution. And this also has the effect of cleansing the stone of negative energy. Particularly crystals, quartzes and things are just kept there overnight, and the stone cleans itself just by being in that solution. But if the wearer can perform a cleansing, and I'm again trying to avoid the word puja now, just a cleansing by concentrating, by requesting a higher power to come there and just cleanse the stone of its negativity, and then if he wears it, then it's much, the power of the stone enhances because of that cleansing. Most people, however, have some kind of religious belief or the other. Most Indian homes have little altars in their house where people pray. There is a little lamp that is lit. Perhaps just leaving that particular gemstone, that earring or that ring there overnight in your place of puja will do the same thing, because it will cause the stone to be cleansed of negative energy. So cleansing is very important. It's like clothing. It's like anything we use. We have to clean it in order to get the maximum effect of what we're going to use.
The purpose of energizing is only to drive away the negativity it may contain, because the negativity always gets congested in a crystal when it is kept in a particular location. Maybe if that location is having more of a negative energy, it would accumulate only that energy.
Millions of people believe and live in enhancing and harnessing the natural forces that prevail in the environment, be it their home or their office. Having a great family, having a great career, having a great set of friends, and able to fulfill all their dreams. All this is possible if they're able to balance the natural forces that surround them. And that balance is possible if they're able to place the right crystal.
If you go in the south of India, it's very popular that everybody hangs a crystal of alum at the door. What is the purpose of hanging an alum crystal in the door? The purpose of hanging an alum crystal in the door is, alum has the same property, high quality of absorption and storing, very poor transmission and amplification. So whatever negativity that would come into the house, somebody's jealousy, somebody's anger, somebody's ire, or just like that, some negativity that comes into the house gets absorbed by the alum crystal. It holds it and stores it for so long that its functional efficacy is almost dead by the time it releases it. So it protects the house.
Feng Shui is an age-old Chinese theory which advocates the principle of living in harmony with the nature. Every house has to have a proper inflow of auspicious energy, and this auspicious energy depends upon various factors, and every place where we work should also have auspicious energy in order to conduct the business smoothly, in order to overcome all the difficult situation. Feng Shui is totally related to many tools which activates or deactivates the auspicious or inauspicious energies. The tools like wind chime, sound is an energy in Feng Shui. Similarly, you have an earth energy which is the crystals, and there are various forms of crystals. These crystals serves various purpose. When we talk about this science Feng Shui, we are only looking for bringing in balance at the place where they live in. So in this science, it is the house or the workplace considered as a body to be energized.
Crystals not only do work with the energy, but crystals also beautify your environment. They also have great appeal, decorative appeal. So many people would like to buy a crystal and keep into the house. You may buy a crystal for its beauty. You may buy a crystal because it will make you feel rich and people may appreciate what a beautiful collection you got. But please make sure that you learn elementary crystal stuff before you buy a crystal, because tomorrow it can and will definitely cause a transformation in the energy of your house, definitely cause a transformation in the energy of your environment, and if it helps you, good for you. If it doesn't help you, really bad for you. It's not difficult to learn it. It's easy and simple to learn. You learn it and learn it properly and then make the maximum use of it. It's a beautiful decoration. It's a beautiful tool. Why use it only for a decoration?
Most often when we build homes or when before we propose to start a building, gemstones are buried. Usually it's the precious gems that are generally buried. But nowadays I tell people to put in an amethyst and a garnet and a crystal along with the other 9 precious stones, because as I told you, the crystal has a lot of power. It enhances the vibration of the place. Basically it brings about a lot of peace, and we find that people tend to be less anxious when there is a crystal around.
So the energy of the lingam, the symbology of the lingam, is the yang energy, the male energy, the Shiva energy, no? So you have two things which come together to have a certain effect. Now you must determine yourself that if the effect you want to have is better suited to use a pyramid or to use a sphere or to use a lingam. This lingam is Moki topaz, perfectly clear. It's a fantastic stone. Now, take for example these bejas, no? The thunder is a Tibetan symbol. It has 4 elements. The Tibetan tantrics say some mantra and cut through the blockages in the physical, emotional, mental and spiritual. Now, this, if you're steeped into the Tibetan tantrism, it works. Otherwise, it's a toy. If you, the power is there, but it will be like a computer. If you don't know how to use it, then it's useless. It cannot do anything, no? So the form of the shape, a pyramid of a sphere have their own shape that has this effect, even if you don't know. But there is some shape that to have power, they have to be activated with certain mantra, with certain knowledge.
Ayurveda is the world's oldest and most comprehensive system of natural medicine. Ayurveda originated in the Vedic civilization of ancient India and is recognized by the World Health Organization. Ayurveda says that before we exist in physical form, we existed in a more subtle form known as the soul.
See, as far as gems are concerned, this aspect of gems are discussed in the Rashastra, context of Ayurveda. Here rasa, Ayurvedic chemists generally believe, or alchemists generally believe, that the whole world is pervaded by rasa. Rasa, they mean mercury. And now to give the symbolic effect, Shiva seems to be the lord of rasa. All the material evolved from rasa is combined in that particular the comprehensive compendium called Rasa Shastra. There are various good books attributed to this science. There are about 9 major gems which are neatly dealt with in this literature. In today's day-to-day life, not all of them are generally prescribed because of their cost prohibitiveness. Otherwise, most of them can be generally used in a day-to-day practice.
I would like to mention that Ayurveda has got 8 branches, out of which Rasa Shastra is one, which deals with all the minerals, animal and herbal products and other things. The gems come under this particular category. It can also be called the Ayurvedic alchemy because it deals with all such materials. The speciality about this particular branch is that it can treat in the cases of emergency and acute conditions because it can be used in very small doses. That's the main reason why it is so famous.
Gems are a concentrated form of energy. They have more energy than the other herbal components. That is why they are valued both by as far as their price is concerned and as far as the value or the the energy part is concerned. Rasa Shastra, why Rasa Shastra attains importance is the features of these preparations prepared out of these rasas or gems and other things. They are alpamatratvat. They can be, the dosage is very small. Bahuvegitvat. They act very precisely and penetrate very fast, something like an antibiotic or a steroid or something like that. And they have no taste. They have no taste. So it is very easy to give the patients.
Drawing its roots from the Vedas, how strong are the spiritual aspects of the Ayurveda?
See, our birth was in a culture which breeds spirituality. We cannot go against the spirit of that culture. Ayurveda lives in spirituality. Spirituality is the bedrock of Ayurveda.
Ayurveda tells us that each individual is a unique person and to thereby design treatment protocols that specifically addresses the person's health challenges. To achieve this, Ayurveda has evolved processes that makes administering the gemstones in medicinal form more practical.
There are 2 methods in which the gems are used. One is the internal and one is the external. Internal cannot directly be used. So it has to be first purified and made into a form of bhasma. So this is a very long process. And why this process is used is there are 2 things in any gem or whatever you want to use. One is the more useful matter in that. So by this process we try to enhance the potency of the medicine and remove filter out all the unwanted things. So these processes that have been explained in the book is first they purify the whole thing and then they make it into bhasma by giving a lot of putams and other things. The general method is that they are heated and then put into different decoction of different herbs and thus purified. Generally some gems are prepared in 2 or 3 different forms. For example, this is coral. When this is processed and it is made into bhasma, it is white in color like this. So it goes through a purification process and then a process in which it is put into the fire. For each different gem they give different degrees. Furthermore classification is made where you want to have extreme cooling effects like in case of say ulcers and things like that. So at that time this same coral is made in the form of a pishti. This is prepared only at night to give excessive cooling effect, especially in the moonlight, and using milk, and then it is ground into powder for so many nights. So that is the description given. This is the pishti. You can see the color difference between the 2. All the 3 are the same products. Nowadays things have become very simple. Instead of just popping some bhasma into the mouth, to avoid the excess dosage and things like that, people have come out with capsules, tablets. So many convenient methods have come out for using of the powders.
Gemstones should be generally used, sir. How it is to be used, sir? Say wearing it on oneself, definitely enhances the what you call his structural well-being, and it shows away all the evil effects of the environment on the personality. The internal use definitely brings about a drastic eradication of the problem that is troubling the individual. Atma is nothing but a state of pure happiness. Whenever we close our prayer, we say Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This state of Shanti can be expressed only when the internal functioning of the Indriyas and the organs support the external peaceful nature of the environment. So the external wearing of the gems and the internal usage of the gems definitely bring about a peaceful effect on both the individual and the surroundings. So it can spread the message. See, if every individual is kept at peace, it can bring about a general harmony in the society.
Every healer has an interesting story to say as to how he discovered the science of healing, how he realized his powers, how much he can do for others. In any form of energy healing, the healing is instantaneous if the healer is connected to the truth and the patient is receptive. It is important to know that the healer is simply a channel for pure positive energy. It is the patient who is responsible for accepting the healing.
About 16, 17 years ago, in the south of India, between Tiruchirappalli, Karur, I was buying crystals for commercial purpose, to get them cut in the shape of Buddha head and Ganesh, no? And handling them, I felt that energy sometime almost burning my arm, and asked myself, what is this energy? And then I met a healer who was using crystals for healing, and I read a few books, and I thought, well, let me experiment with it, because I'm a type of person, I believe only in what I experience, not in what I'm told or what I read in a book. And the same evening came, we have a few guest houses here, came a New Zealand family, and the man was the typical outdoor Australian New Zealand guy who looked very strong, and his wife was very thin, but she was carrying the luggage. The man had several operations to his spinal cord, and several links, still links in the spinal cord, and he lived in excruciating pain, notwithstanding morphine injections. And I thought, I will try. And the man was very skeptical, he didn't believe in anything like that, but his wife convinced him. So he sat in front of me, and I put the crystal, beginning from the top of the head, going down the spinal cord, and up to a certain point nothing happened. But when it got to the point that there was energy blockage, the crystal started first trembling and then rotating, and I felt a bit like in a trance, and I closed my eyes, and the crystal was stabbing very strong. And part of me was a bit concerned, a bit afraid. I mean, the man already is in a very bad condition. If I stick a crystal in his back, he's not going to be very happy. And I was drenched with sweat. There was a pool of sweat. I worked for about 1 hour till I got to the base of the spinal cord. The man was laughing. He said, nothing happened, I didn't feel anything. Actually, now I feel a bit worse because I've been sitting in a bad position 1 hour. So I said, excuse me, maybe I'm not meant to be a crystal healer. And I was a bit disappointed, but I didn't think any more about it. Next morning, 5:30 in the morning, I heard some shouting, I ran out. The man was running around and saying, it worked, I can move. It was incredible, no? The first time, that gave me a lot of self-confidence, and eventually I developed some instruments to work on it in crystal, in ruby. And I began learning about several other stones. For example, one of the most powerful one in India is the crystal of Mysore star ruby, which is found in the area of Chennapatna between Mysore and Bangalore. This is a crystal of ruby as it comes out of the ground, just rounded and polished on top. This mostly works on the Muladhara, on the chakra, the base of the spine. So in the last 15, 16, 17 years, I've been learning, and I'm still learning. I wrote a book about energy and the power of the stones. But even now, I'm still learning about it.
I teach pranic healing on a regular basis. I practice pranic healing every day. Now, having gone into practice, I came to a stage where I found that I need some more support. Okay, if there's one patient or two patients, fine, I can still manage. But I have 15 patients and 20 patients every evening to handle. Where do I get the energy from? So that's when the concept of working with a tool came into my head. As a healer, crystals have a particular property of absorbing, storing, amplifying and transmitting cosmic energy. And as a healer, that's the angle of crystals that I normally work with. Now this property is available in any crystal. There is no discrimination between one crystal and another crystal, except that the proportion in which it does these four jobs varies. Some crystals absorb more, hold more, store more, but very little property of transmission and amplification. Some crystals transmit more, amplify more, even though they require less, they absorb less energy, but they have a high degree of amplification and high degree of transmission. And some crystals have them on an equal space. So as a healer, we need all these aspects of the crystals.
Pranic healing is a revolutionary and comprehensive system of natural healing techniques that utilizes prana to treat various illnesses. Prana is a Sanskrit word and it literally means life force, an invisible bioenergy or vital energy that keeps the body alive and maintains a state of good health. Prana can be found in the food that you eat, in the water that you drink, and most importantly, prana is found in the air that we breathe.
The fundamental principle of pranic healing is that the body recovers by itself. The body has its own self-recovery mechanism. And to stimulate the self-recovery mechanism in the body, one needs some stimulant. And that stimulant is the energy or prana, life force energy. And that's why the whole process of healing is called pranic healing. Now, as a pranic healer, we learn many techniques, we learn many methodologies by which this process can be accomplished. And at one stage, we reach a time where our body, the energy that our body can absorb, our body is also like a crystal. So we also absorb, store, amplify to some degree and transmit the energy wherever it is required. But at one stage we realize that for the type of healing that we want to do, for the efficacy that we want to get and for the quantum of healing we want to do, that our body has its own limitations. So as to overcome this limitation, we need a tool. We need a tool like a crystal that will absorb far more energy, store far more energy and help us to transmit that stored and amplified energy to the patient. That's how crystals come into the form of healing.
Crystals can be programmed. So a crystal can be programmed like a computer to do a specific task. Crystals follow simple programs. Crystals, they make the chakras and the subtle energy bodies. They have an effect. Normally they make them much larger. So the capacity for chakras to absorb prana or life force is enhanced. So we make use of these properties when using crystals for healing.
Why does a person go down in energy or high in energy? It's like this. Where does a man get his energy from? Right? The energy body or the aura or the Sukshma Shariram along with the chakras have an ability, natural ability to absorb this energy from the cosmos directly. And every one of us are alive only because we are constantly absorbing this energy. In some people, this ability to receive and transmit may be more, in some people it is less. The crystal comes in two aspects of this. First aspect, in the generosity. The generosity part of a person is determined with his heart chakra. The heart chakra or the anahata chakra deals with humanness, higher emotional values. Generosity is one of the high. So if a healer uses a crystal on his body and directs the energy to the particular crystal, which directs it to the heart, the person becomes more generous. The moment you become more generous, you become more happy. You can't be generous without being happy. To be generous, you must have. He becomes wealthy. He has a lot also with him. So automatically the person's personality blooms. So the person is absorbing good amount of wealthy energy, good amount of prosperous energy. Therefore he emanates also good amount of prosperous energy. So this aspect gets enhanced in there. Now, this person now uses a crystal to heal. So he absorbs, so he has his own power of energy, and this energy is being supplemented or complemented by so much more energy by the crystal. So the crystal becomes a greater boon, a bigger tool for him to do. So he can do more work. He can do more effective work. He can do his work faster. Second, the crystal also helps in building the receptivity of the patient. Now, if a healer wears a stone, it enhances his energy body, and when his energy body becomes big, it influences the energy body of the patient. So, if the person is happy and joyous, the patient also becomes happy and joyous. There is a good synergy. Therefore, the receptivity improves. Everybody has the ability to heal. It depends how latent it is and how much effort you are wanting to put in to bring it. There is a healer within everybody. It depends whether you want to look at that aspect of your life or not. So, it's just like that. So, every human being is capable of learning and practicing healing to a fair degree of proficiency.
When the life force or prana is disturbed, it creates certain imbalances in the energy fields, thus leading to diseases. The key to rebalancing the energy fields is to concentrate on the ailment. Visualize what is required, which of course is a speedy recovery and perfect health. There are no hard and fast rules in energy healing. It's an intuitive, inspired and faith-related process. All that is required is a clear set of intentions, and then just allow the magic to flow.
Okay, another way pranic healers use crystals is placing crystals on the body itself. We use small crystals like this or like this, which can stay on a person's body, and we place them like shown over here. We program these crystals to work on the chakras where we place them, to clean them out and energize them. So these crystals can constantly work even when the healer is not present. We can leave the crystals laid on the body to work for some time, then come back and remove the crystals, and the crystals would have been cleaning and energizing the patient. So this is another way of using crystals in healing.
So there is a particular technique that we call a chakra crossing, in which we put the person on the floor, we use some mantra and some sounds, we put the person in a trance, and then suppose that the person needs particularly energy, we put a natural topaz on the manipura, we put a stone on each chakra, and then we put some other stone in various parts of the body. We put several crystals at the base of the feet, and on the top we put possibly a sapphire or some other stone, and then we do a work with this. But it will not be very practical for the person who walk around with all those stones. So usually the stones which are prescribed are 1, 2, 3, maximum 4. Then for particular work it's possible to do what is called a layout, in which stones are put for half an hour, 1 hour during the session on the person.
Ho percepito una sensazione di grande rilassamento.
I perceive the sensation of great relaxation.
E un flusso di energia benefica dalla mia
And the
testa
flux of benefic energy from my head
verso il basso.
toward the lower chakras.
From the great spiraling galaxies, millions of light years across, to the billions of atoms swirling in a grain of sand, the universe is composed of spinning wheels of energy. As per the Hindu system, at the inner core of the human body spin wheel-like energy centers called chakras. There are 7 chakras, and these are located in the 7 endocrine glands. They are located in a fantastic order, which only confirms the belief that the human body is a microcosm of the universe, and our emotional and spiritual energies have centers of focus which, when used, can improve our lives and the lives of those around us.
The study of the correlationship between the chakras and the body and the functioning of the body is not part of the crystal therapy. Okay. Now, not only does the chakra control certain physical aspects of the body, but each chakra also controls certain psychological aspects of the body. Therefore, the whole human being, who consists of physical, emotional, psychological and spiritual aspect, can be stimulated by stimulating the chakras.
Let's look at it like this. You've probably heard of solariums. In Jamnagar, there used to be many years ago a solarium where they used different colors of light. They had a color filter in the roof of the room, and they used different colors of light to treat various diseases. So there is something to the effect of color on the human body. So that perhaps that little gemstone that sits on your finger, or maybe it's on a pendant or worn on your arm or something, that acts like a little solarium, and maybe that does something for you. That's a scientific angle to it. The other is, of course, the historic mythological thing about the effect of planets, the correlation between gemstones and planet, every planet being connected to a particular gemstone and vice versa.
Each chakra vibrates at different frequencies, and therefore it generates a particular color. So it is very, very conducive to stimulation if you use color, and therefore chromotherapy has come up to be one more new science in energy healing. Let's take the case of a Muladhara chakra. The primary chakra of the body is considered the Muladhara chakra. Now, this chakra is highly red oriented. The colors it generates is a lot of red, some orange and some yellow, but red is the color of this chakra. When we want to stimulate the basic chakra, and if we want to use a gem or a crystal, then the best crystal to use is use a red crystal. Actually, what happens is the stars have an effect on your chakra. For example, the basic chakra is definitely influenced by the Mars, the red planet. But the red stone that you use, whether it's a garnet or whether it is a ruby, has no connection whatsoever with the planet. It just relates to what that planet would have done, which your body is not capable of absorbing and directly assimilating. You use the stone or you use the crystal, and the crystal, because being a crystal, it absorbs the energy, holds the energy, amplifies, transmits, and being red in color, it sends out red color energy, and that's what your body needs. Once you learn the energy aspect, once you learn the chakras, once you learn the working of the chakras, then all the science becomes applicable. But if you don't have this fundamental, then this becomes a problem.
But for each chakra there is different possible stones, and all those colors don't necessarily correspond. For example, the throat is blue. It's true that you have aquamarine and turquoise, which is blue for the throat, but you can also use iolite, which is a bit violet. Let's say that there is a certain range of color which is similar to the color of the chakra. But for example, take the Manipura, which is red. You can also use tiger eye, which is yellow. Let's say a certain range of color is applied to each chakra.
Pranic healing procedures are very simple and very easy to learn. However, behind this simplicity is a sophisticated technique that is without doubt one of the best among all known and disseminated alternate healing arts.
This self-recovery mechanism of the body, as I was telling you, that pranic healing aims at stimulating, is governed by 11 major chakras and 12 minor chakras of the body. Not that there are only 11 and 12 chakras, there are thousands of chakras in the body, but so as to make the system easy and simple to use, Master Choa Koksui, my teacher, has decided that these 11 major chakras and these 12 minor chakras, if you handle, that's more than sufficient for work to be done. Now, each chakra is situated at a specific place in your body, and it controls certain organs, certain parts and certain systems of the human body. So by stimulating those chakras, you stimulate the energy concentration or the energy purity in those parts, in those organs and those systems of the body. So whichever part of the body, whichever organ of the body or whichever system of the body is weak or malfunctioning, when you stimulate that with energy, you give it more energy, the organ, the part, the system of the body begins to recoup. The body has its own self-recuperation system.
A chakra, when you have disease, malfunctions. So when chakras malfunction, their speed of rotation is affected or the quantity of energy in them is affected. So they can get congested or what we say depleted of energy. When they get congested, this is what you may say is getting blocked. So energy is not able to flow through them. So they have to be cleaned. Basically, the chakra has to be cleansed of the diseased energy and normalized so its rotation speed becomes normal and the level of energy in them also normalizes so the energy can then flow through them easily. Now, in pranic healing, we use different kinds of crystals. We use what is called a laser crystal, which I'm holding in my hand over here, which is thin and long, easy to hold and work with. It is pointed at this side, so the energy that is absorbed and stored and condensed can be focused like a sharp knife for our healing work, to remove disease energies, to disintegrate tumors and things like that. This increases the healing power of a healer. Secondly, we use round crystals like this to hold in our hands. Now when you place a crystal in your hand, it affects your whole energy body. All the chakras become bigger, especially the lower chakras, and your energy body also increases. So now it's like a pipe that has become much bigger. So more energy is able to flow through my hand and out through this hand. So thereby enhancing the power of a healer, which means that the time it takes to heal somebody gets reduced by half or even more. So I have to spend less time healing a patient when I use crystals.
Pranic healing has a lot to offer us. It has been researched and is today accepted as an alternate form of medical treatment. Surprised? Stay with us and we shall show you the new techniques developed.
Crystals are elements available in nature and therefore you cannot find two crystals which are identical. Now when you want to use it for healing, we want a standard tool. We are looking for a tool. The healing is not done by the crystal. The crystal is used by the healer to do the healing. The healer is the main person. He uses the crystal as a tool to absorb more energy so that he can transmit more energy and use this energy effectively. More specific type of energy if you would like it. So the problem with crystals is, crystals are good, crystals are nice, they look decorative, they are very impressive, but you don't get two crystals identical. Therefore there is no standardization. Already we have a variable in the healer. All healers, because as we discussed earlier, different parameters, their healing ability is different. You have a tool is also a variable, then what type of healing procedure? For any scientific procedure, we need standardization. And that's when I came to a conclusion that something must be done to standardize a crystal. How can standardization be brought into the crystal? So I cut it down to an ATM size. Then through a technological process, I generated crystals in this plate. And we oriented the crystals, microfine crystals, in a particular grid so that the energy aspect of it becomes as much as the 5.5 kilograms crystal. Added a occult symbol to still further increase the energy of it and got it colored violet. And that's when I got my first thing, what we call the crystal chip. That's why chip, because it works like a chip, and crystal because it has crystals. We call it energy chips. Now this chip has the power, it's a small ATM size aluminum card, has the power of a 5.5 kilograms crystal, and it fits into your wallet. This is my first one that I made for keepsake and for good memories. I have this. This is a violet chip. Now once I got this done, I found that just by keeping this in my pocket, lots of benefit accrued to me. So I began to think, why not I start designing a healing procedure using this instead of using the natural crystals. The advantage of this is a crystal can be programmed to do a particular job. Then I worked out a system of programming. Just like a chip in a computer can be programmed by electrical impulses, this energy chip can be programmed with mental impressions. So it's just like that. It just has to receive an energy. Even when you send electrical energy, it is transferred into a particular energy and then only the chip will accept it. So it's just a matter of energy. So you impregnate an instruction. The beauty is that this chip will follow the instruction repeatedly as many times as you want it to the nth degree of accuracy. So taking into consideration the color of the chip, taking into consideration the chakras that it relates to, so we did a system. We made out 7 chips, 7 colors: violet, blue, green, golden, red, silver and black. And each one relates to certain chakras of the body, and each one relates to certain attributes that the human being must have. For his proper harmonious living, certain attributes are essential. So each color relates to those attributes, and those attributes in turn relate to the particular chakras. So we standardize the whole procedure in 7 colors and program these chips for these 7 attributes. Now the advantage with this is, whenever you are doing healing, you use the chips, the power of the chip will give you the power of the energy. At the same time, it will also give you the attribute because it is programmed so. It doesn't dampen the other stuff. It brings in its power and it gives you the attribute also.
You know, all this must be taken in its proper perspective. When we get into this situation of talking about stones and talking to astrologers, particularly when we are down and out or in deep trouble, we start believing that this particular stone is going to really cure all my ills. I have to warn you that's not the case. The stones can only help you. They can support you. They can help you to move forward. They can support you when you are in trouble. But they are not the panacea for all your problems. If you believe in astrology, if you believe in destiny, then your destiny is supreme. You may not be able to change your destiny. However, you may be able to ride through rough waters, through turbulent times with less difficulty and relatively more peace than perhaps you did not wear it.